Welcome back. Welcome back. Well, this week has actually been a pretty big week for the New York Mets. The Mets have done a lot to bolster their bullpen, making a couple really nice pickups, a couple key additions, and I actually like what I'm seeing. They're really rounding out their pitching staff. Bullpen's very important, obviously. So I do like the moves, and I'm going to go over why. But just in terms of the structure of the team and the direction of David Stearns, obviously there's a lot to be desired. It's still a very lackluster offseason, but I've had a conversation with, and I've actually seen this online a lot, and I want to bring up a comparison. And I want to get your thoughts on it. And I want to go into reasons why I think that this is probably going to be the case. Okay, a lot of people are saying, and you know what? Take it for what it is. The New York Knicks obviously are one of the better teams in New York. You have the New York Knicks, you have the New York Rangers, and obviously you have the New York Mets really struggling to be relevant. Really struggling to be relevant. Obviously, they brought David Stearns, so we have a different direction. We have a different philosophy right now because what we have been doing in the past obviously hasn't been working. And the comparison I've seen is the New York Knicks years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I forgot how many years, but it was maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. The Knicks had the opportunity to sign Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant obviously chose to sign with the Brooklyn Nets. At that time, the New York Knicks signed Julius Randle and made a couple big, not big, but a couple key pickups, but obviously a lot less than signing Durant and Kyrie Irving. So a lot of Knicks fans were upset. They really built up a lot of momentum, and there was a lot of rumors that Durant and Kyrie Irving would go to the New York Knicks. So a lot of New York Knicks fans were banking on that. Just like a lot of Mets fans were banking on Yamamoto, some Mets fans were banking on Ohtani to come to the Mets. Years later, the New York Knicks have done things right. They've been patient. They haven't traded away a lot of their draft picks, a lot of their young players years ago. They hadn't made silly trades. They've been patient and they've been calculated. But the way they've been able to do this is they've had good leadership and they've been precise. They've made pickups like Jalen Brunson throughout the years, but the bottom line is they've been patient. Now, the thought process is you have a guy like David Stearns, and is David Stearns going to take a similar path, right? And it could be because a lot of the moves that we see this year we don't see as foundation move. We don't see as moves that are going to be pillars of like a dynasty. We don't obviously we didn't sign any young 25-year-old. We didn't sign anybody who's going to be here for a very long period of time. We've signed a lot of guys on 1 year contracts who yeah, maybe we'll get lucky, maybe eventually if they have a good year, we could sign maybe a Severino to a 3, 4 year contract if he has a breakout season. Same thing with Manaya. Yeah, these guys could turn out to be longer contracts. But the bottom line is right now, it seems like we have placeholders. We have a bunch of placeholders in place right now. And also, not only do we have placeholders in place, it seems like we're developing a philosophy. Take the bullpen, for example. And that's what I really want to highlight right now. The bullpen, we've gone about in a totally different way. Obviously, last year we signed a guy like David Robertson to $10, $11 million a year. And now you take that same $11 million and you divvy it up into a bunch of players. Like now you got Ottavino, DIEKMAN, you got Fujinami. So, you divide that up, and what you have is you have a bunch of upside. You have a bunch of upside. You don't rely and bank on just one player to succeed. Now you got 3 or 4 guys that could do different things that are extremely, I would say, talented. Like, a guy like DIEKMAN, and I just want to show you some statistics. Ottavino, obviously, we started off at the beginning of the week, and I'm not really sure Ottavino was always on the table. Ottavino was a guy who opted out of his player option. I think he was supposed to make $6.5 million, and now he signs with the Mets for $4.5 million. So for Ottavino, this was obviously not in the cards. He probably went out to see if he could get more money. It didn't work out that way, so he ended up going to a place in the New York Mets that he was comfortable, that he liked being, and you know what? He was okay taking less money to go back to the New York Mets. So I like that signing. I like Ottavino. Obviously, we've spoken about him in past videos. He's been a successful guy. Him being in his late 30s, he's been a key piece. Last year, he had a low 3 earner and average. The year before that, he did phenomenal. So Ottavino is a nice piece. Now we get into the two new pieces, and I really want to highlight Jake Diekman. I really do. So let's get into some of his. Okay, so let's pull up Jake Diekman's. We'll look at his baseball reference first, then we'll check out his baseball savant because his baseball savant is something I was extremely impressed about. So last year, Jake Diekman, he pitched 63 games. He was 0-2, and he had a 3.34 earned run average. So that was between the Chicago White Sox, where he pitched 13 games, and he pitched most of the year with the Tampa Bay Rays. With the White Sox in 13 games, he had a 7.94 earned run average. And with the Tampa Bay Rays, he had a 2.18 earned run average. So the thing with Jake Diekman is notoriously he's been a very high walk guy. So with the Chicago White Sox in a limited amount of games, he walked about 10 batters per 9 innings. With the Tampa Bay Rays, and they seem to have unlocked something really kind of key. Maybe they fine-tune a couple of things that maybe David Stearns and the Mets organization are going to continue doing because he cut his walks in half. So yeah, he still had a lot of walks per 9 innings. He had about 5, but still, he was a lot better. He had a 2.18 ERA, and his numbers, he in 45 innings, he only allowed 26 hits, only allowed 15 earned runs, um, 53 strikeouts. So that's more than a strikeout per 9 innings. So, he had 10.5 strikeouts per 9 to be exact. So he did a lot better on the Tampa Bay Rays. And it's something that I'm really, really excited about because we're going to go over his baseball savant numbers because I got to say, in my opinion, they are pretty impressive. And let's check out that right. Okay, so Jake Diekman, he's 37 years old, so obviously he's not a young guy. He's a guy who probably, we're gonna have this year, maybe re-sign him next year for a one-year contract. But like he's one of those players that I said he's a fill in a gap player. So his pitch repertoire. So these are just average pitch velocities. So his fastball averages 95 miles per hour. He is a lefty. He throws that 65% of the time. His slider is an 84 mile per hour slider. He's got an 88 mile per hour changeup and an 89 mile per hour cutter. He throws the fastball the most, like I mentioned, about 65% of the time. Then his next most used pitch is his slider, which he uses about 18% of the time. But if we go into his more advanced numbers, if you look, there's a lot of red over here. There's a heck of a lot of red, compared to a lot of the guys we picked up, like, let's say Jorge Lopez. Jorge Lopez, he's a guy who has a lot of, he has a lot of upside. Like he could throw the ball hard, but a lot of these other categories aren't in the upper echelon. So for Jake Diekman, expected ERA 3.35, expected batting average 93rd percentile 1.99, very impressive. Fastball velocity, he throws the ball hard, he's in the 75th percentile. Average exit velocity, they don't hit the ball hard off Diekman, and I've got my suspicions why. He's got pretty nasty stuff, but obviously he doesn't throw a lot of strikes. But the average exit velocity is in the 99th percentile, so they don't hit the ball hard off him. Chase rate's not that great. Whip rate is about in the middle of the pack. K rate is in the 74th percentile. Walk weight, he's horrible. He is probably the worst in baseball. Power percentage, 88th percentile. Hard hit percentage, 99th percentile. Ground ball rate, 72nd percentile. So you see a lot of red here. There is a lot of talent, a lot of upside with Jake Diekman. We don't have too many hard throwing lefties, especially in the bullpen. So, it's something that I do like. And another thing that I want to bring up with guys like Jake Diekman, Jorge Lopez, Edwin Diaz, Fujinami, he's a fireballer. Another really big thing that I look at is You got guys in your bullpen who, if the other team goes after Pete Alonso, you got a bunch of fireballers in the bullpen who are, in my opinion, a guy like Jake Diekman, they're not going to be afraid to brush off the other opposing batter, right? So now you got to think twice if you're a pitcher and you want to go up and in on Pete Alonso, because you got Fujinami who could throw the ball over 100 and something miles per hour. We're going to get into that, but he could brush you back off the plate. Jake Diekman, lefty on lefty, throw nasty stuff up and in. So, I mean, I'm not advocating hitting guys, but I'm just saying if you're going to hit our best player, Pete Alonso, now we got a bunch of fireballs in the bullpen who can really, really pay these guys back. And, that's how baseball has been played. You ask Keith Hernandez, if your best player gets hit, expect, if you hit the best player, expect your best player to be hit. Okay, so I see a lot of upside in this contract. It gives you another a lefty in the bullpen, a guy like who does different things than Brooks Raley. Brooks Raley is a guy who's very, very talented guy. He played with the Rays as well, but he's just a different looking lefty. Jake Diekman throws the ball a lot harder, has different stuff, and I just like it. I like the different options now you're gonna have in the bullpen. I'm not saying you're gonna have, you know, I, I don't know if we're gonna have a lights out eighth inning guy, but you got a lot of pieces, a lot of players who you can mix and match in that eighth inning, and a lot of guys who could step up. Bullpen guys are hit and miss. A guy like Deckman could be phenomenal. A guy like Jorge Lopez could be phenomenal. Adam Ottavino could pitch to a low 2 earned run average like he did 2 years ago. Brooks Raley could. So there's a lot of potential in this pen. The guys that were available like Deckman and Fujinami that we're going to get into, the reason why they were available is because they walk a lot of guys and they don't have a lot of control. So if you could find a way to harness their talent and to just up their control just a little bit, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. Okay, so now we're going to get into Fujinami. And Fujinami is a guy that to me, he has a lot of upside. He has a lot of upside, and there's not really a lot of downside. So we'll look at his baseball savant right now, and we'll get into him. So Shintaro Fujinami obviously looks a bit different than Jake Diekman, especially if you look at his advanced numbers on Baseball Savant. So Fujinami last year was 7-8 with a 7.18 ERA. He pitched in 64 games. He had 83 strikeouts, and he had a whip of 1.49. So those numbers right there are very poor. They are extremely poor. So let's look at his repertoire, what he brings to the table. So his pitch distribution. He throws a fastball 56% of the time, and now this is amazing. He has an average fastball of 98 miles per hour. Average fastball. So he can get up into the low 100s. He can hit 101, 102. So that right there is something not many guys could do. So if there's a guy out there that has that type of talent that can do things that many guys in MLB baseball can't do. Yeah, there's more guys nowadays that could do it, but there's not many guys who can hit 102. The guy's a big guy. He's 6'6". He's got a big frame. He's 29 years old, so he's still growing. He's still developing. I believe he only pitched 1 year in the United States, so he's still getting used to things. Okay, so his second pitch that he throws 20% of the time is a 93 mile per hour changeup. Now, that's one thing that I noticed right there that could be worked on. He's got a 98 mile per hour fastball average and a 93 mile per hour changeup. That's kind of crazy if you think about it. First of all, a 93 mile per hour changeup is probably an average fastball for most major league pitchers. Second of all, the difference in velocity is not that much. It's only 5 mile per hour difference. So right then and there, if I'm a pitching coach, maybe something I'd work on is saying, you know what, your changeup has to be more of a change of pace. It's almost like maybe a two-seam fastball or cut fastball. His cutter is his next pitch, a cutter is 88 miles per hour. So his cutter acts like more like a change of pace. So that's something that I could see maybe him working on. He also has a slider. Maybe he develops a curveball. The sky's the limit when you could throw the ball 102 miles per hour. Really, it is. Now, if you look at his baseball savant, it's not like DIEKMAN. His expected ERA is in the 25th percentile. His expected batting average, is better than average. It's 240, so that's not bad. His expected velo, 97th percentile. Crazy. Average exit velocity, 15th percentile. So that really tells me, and I'm gonna tell you right now, his walk rate obviously is in the 6th percentile. He walks a lot of guys. So that really tells me that you have a guy who gets behind in a lot of counts and has to eventually lay a meatball over, and that's causing the guy to get absolutely crushed. It's causing him to get crushed. So if the Mets feel that they can work with him and adapt or change his repertoire or change his mechanics, where he has more control, where he's not finding himself laying pitches in there, or if he's being too cute. I haven't followed him too closely, but the Mets and David Stern, they see opportunity and they see talent. They do. His extension is in the 88th percentile. His whiff rate is in the 78th percentile. So he pitched last year. That was the only year that he pitched in the major leagues. And bottom line, the guy walks a lot of guys. He's got a crazy fast fastball that can hit 102, and there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent. He's only pitched 1 year in the United States, and you got to give some time for these guys to develop. Some guys like a Sanga, they'll come in and they'll dominate the first years. Other guys take 2 or 3 years to get comfortable. So I like it. I really do. And at the end of the day, you're just adding another guy, another look. That's very important. I want to get into one more thing, but I do like the signings this week. I really do. Now, I can understand if there's a lot of frustration out there where, Mets fans, especially when Steve Cohen bought the team, expected us to be champions or expected us to win a World Series within the first couple of years, or at least to spend money and get the best free agent all the time. But here's the thing, and like I brought up the Knicks comparison in the beginning of the video, a lot of time it's about building a certain culture and about getting the right players who fit. You don't want to always get, the highest marquee name because it might not fit your organization, it might not fit your culture. You just got to build a team the right way. You have to build a foundation. The Mets never had a foundation. They've always been putting mix match pieces and trying to make them fit. I'll spend to $100 million on a Verlin and a Scherzer. I don't care if the rest of the starting rotation about them. If they get along with the people in the clubhouse. I know they're professionals, but at the end of the day, they're human beings. So if they're not going to get along and elevate each other's performance, a guy like Jalen Brunson, he's elevating the rest of the players, and they're building a culture around a player like that. Now, is Pete Alonso a guy that you want to build around? Because that's going to be the topic of conversation. It really is. Now, he has an immense talent. He has a gift. He can hit 50 home runs, 45 runs on an average. And, he could do things that not many people in this world can do on a consistent basis. But is he the leader? Is he the cornerstone of a foundation? Like, I look at it this way. If you're building a dynasty, right? Is he somebody that you feel could be a part of a dynasty? Really? That's why I want to see how Pete looks if you provide protection, because I think that we can see an ungodly performance, and to make a determination if we want to trade Pete or keep sign Pete to a long-term contract, I want to see the best of Pete. So that's why I think that we need to sign a DH. We really do. I would particularly like to sign Jorge Soler, but if I'm going to make a decision about Pete's long-term future, I want to see the best of Pete Alonso this year. In the last couple of years, we have not seen the best of Pete. Have we seen a very, very good version? Yes, because he's a very talented player. But you've seen Pete injured. You've seen Pete really, take a lot of beatings with these pitchers, pitching him tough, hitting him. I mean, he's had no protection. Guys didn't fear the guy behind him in the lineup. So Pete has had a very tough approach at the plate, and it's been very tough for him. And I want to make things easier for him, and I want to see the best version of Pete if I'm going to make a decision long term. If you want to comment on that, drop a comment. If you want to comment on the Knicks comparison, on the analogy that we've seen, that I've seen a lot of talk on that. I mean, I hope to God that the Mets a couple years are going to be making the noise that the Knicks are making and providing that much excitement to New York City. I really hope that's the case. I really do. But we'll have to see. At the end of the day, Stearns looks like he's going to get players at his price. He's going to get players that are opportunistic, that, hey, you know what? He's a good opportunity to sign this guy at a low price. He's going to get guys with high upside. He's going to be patient. And it's basically going to be on his timetable. Now, we see that he built the bullpen on his timetable. He attacked the starting pitching market first. Then he attacked the bullpen market. He got a couple of middling bats, but he didn't really address the lineup at all. Yes, we got a couple of bench players. We got Bader. Got Joey Wendell. Whoop-de-doo, big deal. But we haven't got that impact bat where we could plug in the middle of the lineup that could substantially make our team better for the 2024 season. Yes, we've made our pitching staff better by solidifying our bullpen. I agree with that. I agree that if you have a stronger bullpen, it automatically makes your starters better. Okay, so that was good. But, at the end of the day, we need more offense and, we need more starting pitching. But it's, in my opinion, we are still at the beginning stages. And in my opinion, we aren't even at the foundation stages yet. We are just putting ourselves in a position to build a foundation. Think about that. We're not building a foundation yet. Some of the players that may be a part of the foundation may come up. That's when Stearns will assess that. But I think we are still not building the foundation. We're putting the pieces. We're getting ourselves ready to begin building a foundation right now. Because if you think about all these bullpen guys, a lot of these bullpen guys are going to just be here for 1 year, maybe 2 years most. And we haven't signed any long-term guys. You see that? We haven't traded for any long-term guys. That's what I mean about like building our foundation. But if you can, drop a comment, like, subscribe. I really appreciate you. I hope you are enjoying your off season. We got pitchers and catchers coming up very soon, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I will talk to you very, very soon. Thank you as always. Let's go Mets.